This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. I decided I was going to write a book. No book writing experience, no long form writing experience at all. But I had had a website up for many years until 2002. And around that time, I started hearing criticism, critics. And I felt like, you know what? Okay, all of these run their mouth critics, I'll put a book out. Now, at the time, not having any experience, I said to myself, well, I've got all this great content. I've got all these other ideas. I'll work with a writer. I actually, in 2002, hired a writer. And I said, hey, here's all this content. And I was busy on my business. I said, here's all this content. Go put a draft together for me. I spent a bunch of money over the course of 2002. At the end of 2002, this manuscript was delivered. At that moment in time, I was like, oh man, shit. This is not going to work. This is not what I want to say. This is not me. This is not going to cut it. So in 2003, and I've told this story before, I got an introduction randomly to an editor at Pearson Financial Times, the publisher. And they said, hey, we'll give you $15,000, deliver us a trend following book by late 2003. Well, 2002 cost me a bunch of money, a situation that did not work, content that was not going to make a book. So in 2003, I said, okay, I've got to do this because this was my motivation. I've got to do this. I've been telling people online the book was coming. So I had the extra pressure of like, damn, the writer that I hired, that didn't work. Now I've got to do it. I've got to figure out how to do this. And that is how the first edition of Trend Following appeared in April 2004. A solid year of just content. And soon enough, boom, my first book. Now at the time, the publisher did not think this book was going to go anywhere. They used a really cheap paper. Anybody that bought the very first edition can recall they used something akin to toilet paper. I went ballistic and forced them on the second printing to go ahead and use normal paper. But one of the problems we had on that first edition was since it was so unknown, me, the content, trend following, the first edition was only on Amazon. It was nowhere else. So we cooked up a plan to get it into bookstores. So in the fall of 2005, about 18 months after the first edition, I expanded the book. That first edition got great reception. So I decided, let's expand the book. And the expansion of the book gave us a new edition, which gave us the ability to go to the bookstores and say, hey, carry this book. Boom, that's what happened. Eventually, a paperback edition came out. And then in the fall of 2008, right there in the middle of all the chaos, I texted my publisher and I said, hey, it's time for a new edition. What's going on right now is historic in the fall of 2008. What's happening in October of 2008 is historic. Trend following is making a bloody fortune right when the rest of the world is absolutely disintegrating. We need a new edition. Publisher didn't really argue with me because I probably sounded like a maniacal lunatic demanding a new edition. That new edition came out early 2009. And then I did a couple other books, part of the Wiley Little Book of Trading series. I did a book called Trend Commandments, kind of a slimmed down version of trend following. Then I started this podcast. And for years now, this podcast has been my motivation. Now, secretly, or maybe not so secretly, I've been working on a epic piece of brand new material for many years now, and that is underway. But last summer 2016, I decided it was time for trend following to come up to speed, to bring a new edition out for the first time in many, many years. So I sat down with the Word files, summer 2016, and just started reading them. The original 2009 latest edition of Trend Following. Have you ever just taken out a red pen and just cut the living hell out of something? Well, that's what I was doing. Now, don't get me wrong. The original 11 chapters of my Trend Following book, fantastic foundation. But you know what? You look at your writing almost a decade later, and I'm like, man, this stuff is bad. Now, of course, the book has done well. People have bought a lot of copies, over 100,000 sold. But I'm not the same guy that I was in 2002, 2003, 2004, even 2009. I see it from a different perspective. And so last summer 2016, I said, it's time for the new edition. I sat down and I started expanding it. I immediately said, I've got to add interviews. And I picked 7 fantastic interviews from my world, very trend following specific, to go in my newest edition. Oh, I haven't mentioned that yet. This newest edition hits April 24th, 2017. And I should also say that this newest edition is about twice the size of any other trend following edition. So if somebody says to me, hey, should I go ahead and buy this new edition? No, you don't have to do anything. I don't care. But if you want my best work, where I've literally gone through every sentence and made improvements, where I've added new content into the side margins, where I've added new interviews, and where I have partnered with trend following pros to include some of their research in this new edition and make it hardcover. Well, yeah, you want this book. This is the one you put on your shelf where people see it and they want to open it. They want to see what's inside. Now, this is kind of a tough thing to do because I'm laying my rear end out on the line, asking people that have trusted me and followed me for years to step in and give an old title a new chance. This is a reboot, an absolute 100% reboot from start to finish. The foreword, the preface, the epilogue, the new interviews, the new research, every line in the original 11 chapters, answering tough questions too. For example, why is John Henry not trading as a trend following trader still? That's a tough question. And there's a good answer. There's an answer that will make you think, make you ponder. Updating performance throughout. Where has a firm like Dunn Capital gone over all these years? What does their performance look like? Hint, it looks pretty damn good. And I think the biggest picture change that I bring to this newest edition, the efficient market hypothesis or theory, however one wants to call it. It's damn time now for all of us to consider what modern finance is built on. Modern finance is built on rationality. Well, guess what? None of us are freaking rational. They did not give the Nobel Prize to Daniel Kahneman for rationality. Robert Shiller? Now, don't get me wrong. I know men like Eugene Fama from the University of Chicago. Brilliant man. But can't brilliant men make errors? Can't brilliant men be on the wrong side of reality? Trend following is not about any one person. I feel fortunate to be one of those people to help spread this message. But trend following will live on long, long, long after all of us are gone. In fact, when I was writing this newest edition of Trend Following, I was thinking, What will some kid, 20 years old, 25 years old, think when they see this edition 100 years from now? That was driving me. To improve to a level where all of you can see that improvement. That was my goal. That was what I wanted. Not being cocky, but I think I've achieved it. This newest edition of Trend Following is an absolute collaborative effort. I'm so fortunate to have so many people that have contributed and given their insights, shared their insights, given me the time of day. I should share, back when my first edition of Trend Following was taking place, a lot of people think that I had massive access at the time. They think, oh, wow, you must have just been talking to everybody. Now, look, I had a chance to meet and converse with the likes of an Ed Sakota, a Bill Dunn, a Jerry Parker, even when that first edition had come out. But access? I didn't have the access I have today. What I had in 2003, 2004 was a little bit of moxie and a little bit of fake it till you make it. And I knew that nobody was writing about the topic the way that I saw it. And the way that I saw it was going behind the scenes and feeling how these trend following traders really did it. Nobody was writing about that. Everybody was hinting about this or implying that, but nobody was getting down to the nitty-gritty of the raw performance data. Think of a Bill Dunn month-by-month track record. Nobody, and still to this day, who else takes that track record and throws it in a book and says, let's discuss every one of these monthly numbers. That doesn't mean you have to give up your life and become a trend following trader. That doesn't mean you have to take a 50% drawdown. I don't care what you do. But let's discuss this data. Let's discuss this data set. You want to say, hey, Mike, you ignore a survivorship bias. These are all just the lucky monkeys. Really? You want to make the case that 30 and 40-year track records are just lucky monkeys banging away on the keyboard? You really want to make that case? Make that case. I tell you what, go write a book. Let's write a book and let's see if anyone buys into that. This newest edition, as you can tell in my tone a little bit right now, I don't know why I'm so excited today. Maybe I'm just excited because this book is about to come out. You know, you get a little excited, a little nervous. What's the reception going to be? Are people just going to say, oh my gosh, this is a piece of junk. This is terrible. I can't read this. And then what's their alternative to that? Passive indexing, buy and hold? Is that the alternative? Trend following is the devil's strategy, but our passive index buying and holding, that is the wondrous, analytical, intellectual, greatest thing in the world to do in terms of investing? I don't think so. You know, bringing it back to survivorship bias, somebody wants to come at me or they want to come at the subject of trend following more accurately, and you want to yell, hey, what about these trend following traders? These are the lucky monkeys. What about all the ones that failed? And what about all the ones that failed? You can't just sit back and imagine 20 or 30 years later that Bill Dunn had 25 peers that were exactly the same as Bill Dunn with the exact same technique, and but for the luck of the draw, they all failed, quit, and they were the losers, and Bill Dunn was the only one that rose to the top. That argument doesn't hold water. The better line of questioning for the curious out there, for the skeptic out there, is again to pull out that Dunn track record and say, what the hell does this mean? Where is this data from? How did he put together this month-by-month track record for 40 plus years? A month-by-month track record that's filled with a lot of plus signs and a lot of negative signs. To this day, I'm still just fascinated that the vast majority of financial pros, the vast majority of investors, aren't really aware of trend following. They've never heard of it. The only thing they know is what Wall Street has pushed onto them. Going all the way back to Peter Lynch and, hey, my daughter went to the mall and she was in Spencer's and she saw, a blow-up doll. And so I'm going to bet heavy on blow-up dolls. That's a pretty crazy analogy. I don't have one, so please don't please don't think for a second that this is my thing. It's not. But damn it, we've all walked into the mall in the last 30 or 40 years. We've all seen one of these Spencer's or whatever other shop is in there. And the idea that one of the most successful managers ever would actually put down in writing or say it, oh, my kids, they saw this at the mall, so I made a bet on that. Well, what was your exit strategy? I mean, these retail shops go up and down and inside and out and fold left and right. And that mentality is still pervasive. Now, the extra juice on top of that mentality is the brokerage industry the last 30, 40, 50 years, because let's face it, the vast majority of people out there that are placing a trade on or an investment on are being influenced by somebody that wants a commission. Yeah, I want a commission too. You know what my commission is? One-offs. One-off. You buy a book, you train with me, there's some consulting, whatever, or you don't do anything. I don't care. And you know what? I guess I'd probably like the commission business. The commission business looks nice on paper, doesn't it? You just keep churning people for their entire life and you pull money out of them nonstop. Tell you what, though, that takes a lot of mental energy. It takes a lot of manipulation, and that's the word, to pull commissions day after day, year after year. So I'm really simple. I want your commission too. You know what my commission is? Buy the book. And that's a challenge I have with this new trend following edition. Or maybe it's a challenge that I'm making. I absolutely guarantee you the content that's included in my April 2017 trend following edition, at the absolute worst case, will make you think. It will make you think. It will bring you to an alternate vantage, an alternate perspective, something different than what you're fed by Wall Street. Something that hopefully will make you uncomfortable. I can't put down something with a certain controversy tinge like I've done in this newest edition without being willing to accept the slings and arrows. I'm going to make some people just very uncomfortable. I can think of one group that's always uncomfortable, the Financial Times newspaper. I can almost guarantee, I've seen this for nearly 20 years, some ingrate from the Financial Times, maybe not just related to this book, but perhaps will see trend following, and then it'll just be some kind of don't do this, negative, whatever. And it's almost right back to the party line of trust the mutual funds, trust the buy and hold, trust the passive index. Markets are efficient. Shut up, Covel. Go away. Turn you off. We want all of our suckers lined up so we can commission bleed them to death. I sound a little angry today. Not really angry. Again, I'm just excited. A small point that I added to the book, and I did not make much of this inside the pages. Warren Buffett, again. People always want to say, look at this trend following. There's drawdowns. Have you ever looked at what the drawdowns are for Warren Buffett? Since 1980, down 50%, down 50%, down 40%, down 20%. Yeah, Dunn Capital takes big drawdowns too. All trend following firms take big drawdowns. How does anyone think you make the big money? You don't make the big money. You don't make the Warren Buffett money unless you take a 50% drawdown. Well, Covel, that's just your opinion. No, it's not my opinion. Warren Buffett said the same damn thing. So I think secondarily to this new edition's focus on the efficient market hypothesis, I really want people to think about drawdowns. What do you want over the course of a life? Because if you want the chance at the big money, it doesn't come with 10% drawdowns. In fact, the strategy that typically has no drawdown is typically the strategy that, guess what, has a 100% drawdown. It's the strategy with no volatility that should scare the shit out of you. If there's no volatility, if there's no up and down, it's fake. It's not real. Why? Because there's no such thing as prediction. There's no such thing as consistency in the markets. The only people that have consistency in the markets are the major banks that basically run the Federal Reserve. So yeah, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs can tell you that they make money every day of the year, but you don't, and you can't, and you never will. So the idea of a 10% drawdown is ridiculous. It's absurd. The numbers don't back it. We could take a room full of high school kids and throw trend following track records on the table, throw Warren Buffett's track record on the table. And if those kids have got any intelligence, they're going to come back to us and say, oh, wow, interesting. If you want to make a lot of money at various points in time, you're going to lose money. You're not going to make it all in a straight up line. That's the reason you buy this newest edition of trend following. That's the reason you want it. I said this in a tweet the other day. The other reason you want it, at 688 pages, a hardcover, and I will do a video comparison of the 2009 paperback edition to the 2017 hardcover edition. I'm waiting for my first copy of the hardcover edition. But hey, at 688 pages, for around $25 or $30. Let's say you hate the content. There are many alternatives for this newest trend following edition if you hate the content. You can use it as a weapon. It's heavy enough, it'll be thick enough. I think it's almost 2 pounds. That's a serious swing. I can whack the hell out of somebody with that. Now, in all seriousness, I really hope you enjoy this newest edition. It was a beast to do. In fact, the publisher sent me the final manuscript after I had done all my writing and all my edits. They sent me the final pre-page layout. This is what they're going to print draft. I went through it with my assistant and I found 2,000 errors. This was the one they were going to print. They sent me that back after fixed and they said, okay, here's the final one. See if you find any more errors. I found 200 errors. Okay, at this point in time, I'm starting to go slightly mad. This is about February, March of 2017. But finally, on that last draft, I only found 1 error. Now, I know for sure there will be some typo or whatnot that is to be found in this edition. Most authors don't talk about that kind of stuff because they want to pretend everything is perfect. But it's impossible for a book that comprises around 230,000 words, which is what this new edition of Trend Following comprises. It's impossible at 230,000 words to find perfection. It just doesn't exist. And oh, by the way, the last edition of Trend Following, around 110,000 words. So back to that question, should I buy this new edition? Well, you're buying a new book. It's a different book. Yes, it's got some of that base content improved and expanded, but it's also got a lot of stuff that was never in any edition of any of my trend following books. What's my best hope? My best hope is that this book starts a fire of conversation, a little bit of controversy, a little bit of love, a little bit of hate. I want it all. I want people to get inside the content. Yeah, sure, I'm the author. I get all that kind of stuff, whatever, but it's not really about me. I'm kind of channeling all these great insights and passing them along to hopefully force a debate. I know I've been pretty successful at that over the last decade, but damn it, I really feel most proud about this edition. And I hope like hell that the book and people that enjoy the debate that I'm putting out there, I hope we can all start a little bit of a fight. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.